Astley here, play-by-play for the Abby Canucks. You've got it locked in the Line Change, a Vancouver Canucks podcast.
What's up, Canucks Nation? Welcome to the Line Change. Of course, we have ourselves a very special guest here on this snowy morning here in Vancouver. We've got Irfaan Gaffar from Rink-Wide Vancouver, also on the DFL Rundown with David Pagnotta. Irv, how's it going, man?
I'm well. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. I'm doing well, despite the snowy morning we got here on March 10th. Not used to seeing white stuff on the ground at least this early in March. Usually it's a couple months ago. But
yeah, people are in for a little rude awakening. Where I am, it's not too bad right now, but there'll be some carnage on the streets later, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I wanted to start off with, because some people might not actually know who you are. Just introduce yourself, let people know how long you've been doing this and how long you've been covering the Canucks.
Oh, wow. I was born and raised in the Lower Mainland. Been covering the Canucks probably since I was in my early 20s. So it's been about 15 years now, maybe 16 years now since I've been covering the team. I was with Sportsnet for 8 or 9 years and then did some stuff with Dave on the fourth period. And now, doing some stuff with the Nation Network, work with Jeff Patterson a lot. Everyone over there, it's a great time. We do Rink-Wide every night after every game. And then beyond that, just doing the Insider Show and things have been really good. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Obviously, we're a few days removed from the trade deadline. What were your overall thoughts on the deadline itself and, what the Canucks did and, what they didn't do as well?
Well, I said on a show yesterday that since the Hughes trade, the Canucks have acquired 9 total draft picks. So that's including 5 in this year's draft, bringing their total to 10. So they have 10 picks in this draft. And that's the first time since 2003 the Canucks have had 10 picks in the same draft. So you can say what you want about what they got for certain players and where they are now and who they didn't trade. Having the most picks ever since 2003 in a single draft is a pretty tidy piece of business. Yes, you could have gotten more for certain players, and you probably should have tried a little bit more to see if you could get other players off the roster. But for what they are working with going into this draft, I think it's a win right now for this organization.
For sure. I did want to ask you, obviously we heard Alvin's comments in the presser afterwards, talking about, the fact that, Blueger's still here, Kane's still here. I mean, personally, I didn't think Kane was going to move, but I was surprised by Blueger. What do you buy his comments on there not being any offers for Blueger?
It's kind of indifferent. I think that they didn't have any offers that they liked. Mm-hmm. I think that there was a price set for certain players, whether that was internally or publicly, whether you make it available or not, that they would have wanted for a player like Teddy Blueger. I don't think any team was willing to match that or to come up to that. There was some talk about the Canucks maybe wanting 2 picks in the later rounds, or there was a deal that was in place for a couple picks and then fell through, but obviously we'll never know because we weren't in the room. But for Teddy Blueger, and look, I think that there's a chance that they're going to re-sign this player. I think that they really like Teddy Blueger. I think that on the Thursday before the trade deadline, David Pagnotta said that, if the Canucks don't get what they want, look for them to re-sign Teddy Blueger. And those are the same things that I was hearing because they really like the player. They like what he brings as a veteran and things like that. So it wouldn't shock me at all if they re-signed him. Now, you look at Evander Kane, it's a little bit of a different scenario. I don't think that there was much there for Evander Kane. I really don't. And obviously now he's been battling an upper body injury, as what Adam Foote said last night. So he's going to be out. We'll see how long he is out for. But yeah, I just don't think that there was a ton of market for Evander and Teddy Blueger. Maybe what they were asking was too high. But again, no offers. That's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it might be simply Albion just didn't word it correctly because of the language barrier for him?
I don't think so. I think he's been doing this long enough, and he's with Pittsburgh for long enough. I don't think, I mean, maybe there is a little bit of it, but he speaks English every single day to Jim Rutherford and all of that. I think that excuse probably doesn't really go anywhere right now. I think that if they didn't have any, then they didn't have any, and that's exactly what they'll go with until the end of time. And unfortunately, they weren't able to get something for him. But if you really look at it from on a grand scheme of things, you get rid of Quinn Hughes, who didn't want to be here. You traded the player that you needed to trade in Kiefer Sherwood. Tyler Myers probably had to go as well. And then Connor Garland getting off of that contract for another player who wanted out is also a win for this organization.
For sure. You mentioned Kane just briefly. What are your thoughts on Curtis Douglas, who made his debut the other night? What are your thoughts on that signing? And do you think he could be a long-term fit for the Canucks?
I mean, he's a big boy, right? 6'9", 242 pounds, just a big man. I'd like him to play big. I think it's going to take some time for him to get reacclimated to playing in the NHL. He hadn't played in an NHL game since early February. Obviously, with the Olympic break and things like that, he was in and out of the lineup with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So for them to pick him up off waivers, it's a really low risk, low reward move for the Vancouver Canucks. If he turns up to ending up to being a player, I mean, it's great for the organization. Reminds me a little bit of Matt Rempe, obviously with the size, but Rempe skates and hits. I think that it's going to take some time for Curtis Douglas to figure out where he fits on this roster, where they fit him on this roster. I mean, he played 6 shifts in the final 40 minutes of the hockey game. And I bet you if that hockey game was closer, I bet you if that hockey game had a lot on the line, he probably wouldn't have played at all in the third period. And this was a game that was basically meaningless for them, and he still only played 3 shifts in that third period. So it's going to take some time, some getting used to. He's a young kid. He should be able to go, and there's going to find some room here. And if not, they're going to have to put him on waivers again, and see if he clears and ends up in Abbotsford, where he can try and hone in on some of his skills and things like that. But I expect him. What they should want from him is exactly what you expect: a 6'9" guy that throws his weight around, that's going to fight, that's going to back up his teammates, that's going to do those types of things. For him last night in his debut, obviously the nature of the game didn't suggest that or dictate it, and he didn't play much as well. So for him, I think going into that situation, you don't really know what to expect. So maybe with a couple more practices and maybe some more game time here, we'll kind of see him what he ends up being as a player.
Yeah, I think he had like 6:57 of ice time last night in the game. But going back to Bluger real quick, you mentioned how, obviously, the Canucks are looking maybe to re-sign him. Obviously, David mentioned it. Do you think that the Canucks should extend him?
Yeah, I do. I think when you look at the center ice depth in the organization right now, you don't really know what you're going to get out of Elias Pettersson game in and game out and year in and year out. Marco Rossi has been kind of a ghost in the last little while. We haven't really noticed him too much. I didn't know he was on the ice last night, and he played a lot. And then you don't know the future of Philip Hedl and his health status, right? He's got one more year left. Obviously, you had facial fractures from a Brock Besser shot that he took off the face in practice. So a tough situation for him. And, the concussion history, it's no secret that it is there. And for his well-being and things like that, I bet you he's taking a hard look at what he really wants to do here. And obviously, coming back for him, this past concussion was massive, just for him to prove to himself that he could do it. And he did do it. And it was an unfortunate freak incident that happened. But, wherever Philip Hedl goes, an injury does follow. So I would re-sign Teddy Bluger based on that alone, based on you need some depth up the middle, based on he's a great guy in the dressing room. He's a veteran guy in the NHL. He is a Stanley Cup winner. And that is something that you're going to want in the organization.
For sure. Absolutely. I'm full on the camp of keeping Bluger, so long as that extension is within, 2 years max, and hopefully maybe a similar cap hit to what he's making now, which I believe is 3.6. I want to say is his cap hit right now. But I want to ask you, because we have a bit of a, at least from what I've seen, we have a bit of a goalie situation next season. Not necessarily Demko, but obviously, Tolopilo is going to be no longer waiver exempt after this season. So they might run into another Artur Silov scenario with Tolopilo. And I've actually become a very big Tolopilo fan. Not as big as Quads, but I'm getting there. But with him no longer being waiver exempt, do you see them running 3 goalies next season?
No chance. I think that they're going to give Thatcher Demko the best possible opportunity to succeed. I think he's going to have a massive summer. I think he's going to be ready for training camp. I mean, his recovery timeline suggests that he should be ready for training camp after getting the hip surgery right now and him being shut down until obviously next season. Kevin Lankinen, his numbers this year aren't good. He hasn't had help in front of him. I don't think he's a starter in the National Hockey League. I think he's a fantastic backup. I think that the workload split evenly between the 2 goaltenders should be that. I think that, Thatcher Demko does play at his best when he's playing a lot. And that's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because the team probably plays well, but it's a curse because the longer that he plays and the more that he's involved, is he going to get hurt again? And that's just no knock on Thatcher Demko. That's just the reality of the situation. He'll be the first one to tell you that as well. Injuries are going to be something that has followed him around. And that's going to be, when you talk about Thatcher Demko, you're going to say, can this guy ever stay healthy? I think that that's just one of the things that we're going to have to monitor for the rest of his career. And it's unfortunate. He's got a new 3-year deal about to kick in on July 1st, paying him a lot of money to be a goaltender in the National Hockey League. I'd be interested to see what they do with Kevin Lankinen here in the summer. I know he's got some trade protection. I know that there's going to be some teams that could be interested in him. I mean, his numbers don't dictate how good he's been because the team in front of him has been so bad. I mean, he's 7-21. Like that is not good. His goals against is not good. His save percentage is not good. But if there will be teams, he's on a decent enough contract that might be interested in him, then I can see Nikita Tolopilo coming up. But I don't think for a situation they're going to run 3 goalies. I think that they're going to run the 1 and 2 in Demko and Lankinen. And then if something happens, they gets hurt, then Tolopilo will come up, and then that'll be it. And then he'll be up. Whether it's under emergency basis and things like that, they're going to maneuver the cap and do things at the way that they're able to be creative about it. But I don't think that they're going to go with 3 goalies next season.
Mm-hmm. We touched on, the deadline a little bit earlier. What were your thoughts on Garland moving? And he had a great game. I guess that was his second game with Columbus. I thought it was actually his debut, but apparently he played 1 game prior. But yeah, he managed to pick up 2 goals, getting that, as I like to call, post-trade bump with the 2 goals. Just your thoughts on, them moving that contract out, and, basically what he's meant to the Canucks over his tenure, and the fact that he could very well be missed because of that. He was that culture guy. He had that leadership and, just that scrappiness from him.
Yeah, I think that we're going to look at it and say this is a guy that left it out all on the line every single time that he played. No one could ever question his effort in and every game. And he's had to battle being small his whole career. That's just the card that he was dealt. I mean, would he have loved to be 6'3" and whatever and being, as good as hands as he had and been able to skate like the wind? Sure, but he isn't. And he has made a fantastic career for himself by being a guy that is an absolute ass to play against. Guys do not playing against a guy like Connor Garland just because he gets under your skin. He finds himself in crazy areas. He draws a lot of penalties and things like that. So for him to be able to go and, have the season that he did last year and earn that $36 million contract that they signed him to, that's great for Connor Garland. I'm not entirely sure I buy the culture thing in the room. I don't. I think that when things got tough or were getting tough, I think that Connor Garland looked at it and kind of like Jake DeBrusk did a little bit and was like, do I really want to be a part of this rebuild? I think that they had to move on from Connor Garland. I think it was a situation that it was the right time to go, and they should be glad that they did before his contract kicked in.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Moving a little bit more towards the draft, who do you think the Canucks should draft, McKenna or Stenberg? I think I already know the answer to this because I remember at Greta I forget his name, but he did the little like interviews talking about it, and I managed to catch yours, but maybe it's changed since then.
What did I say? I said Stenberg, or did I say McKenna?
You said Stenberg, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's McKenna. I do. I think that he's grown on me over the last little bit. I think that dude's ready to play. I think that he's franchise changing. I think that both of them are, but I think the sexy pick is McKenna. I think that guy is going to be a star in the National Hockey League. But here's the thing. My thing about it is whether you draft McKenna or Stenberg, if you get first overall, second, or even third, and you end up with Keaton Vierhoff, who are the people that you are surrounding this player with? Who is the center that you're going to play with Gavin McKenna? Who is the guy that's going to get him the puck every single game? Is it Elias Pettersson? What type of Elias Pettersson are you getting next season? Is Elias Pettersson the right veteran you want around this kid night in and night out for him to enter the National Hockey League? Is Brock Besser the right guy? Is Jake DeBrusk the right guy? Do they have the right people? Zeev Bium, Tom Willander, Elias Pettersson, the defenseman. You look at those guys, that three, and including the next pick, these are players that your team is going to grow with. This is your new core. Like, these are the new core guys that you have. The old core is gone. It's done. It's already been disassembled. It's going to continue to be disassembled, maybe if guys want trades, but that's out of the picture now. Your window now is to be competitive is 5 years. This rebuild is going to take some time. There's no easy fix to what has happened here in Vancouver on the ice. And I think that drafting Gavin McKenna or Ivar Stenberg, first overall, second overall, whatever it is going to help with that. But there's still so much other facelifting that needs to happen as well.
I think I lost you there for a second.
There we go.
Apologies for that. Been having some internet issues the last couple of days. But yeah, where were we? Right, we're talking about the draft.
Yeah, no, well, like I said, I think that, whoever you're drafting first, second, or third overall, you just need to surround that player with some good people, whether that's on the ice and off the ice. And we're going to have to wait and see what happens here. It's a big summer. It's going to take 5 years minimum, I think, in order to turn this thing completely around.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you mentioned, Vierhoff, because actually my next question was, if the Canucks do fall to third, who do you take? Do you go with Vierhoff or do you go with somebody else?
I think you have to go best available. I don't think you can go with need. I think you have to go with best available at that point. Look, I always go back to the Olli Juolevi draft. They went with need as opposed to best player available. And who went right after Olli Juolevi? You remember that? It was Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
Went right after Olli Juolevi, right? The next pick. So I think you have to go with best player available in this situation. And look, you're not going wrong with Keaton Vierhoff. I mean, the kid's going to be a stud of the National Hockey League. You can't teach size. That's what I've always said. It's one of the things that you look at a National Hockey League player. If this kid's 18 years old and he's 6'3", and he's only going to grow and become bigger. Like, you can teach the on ice. You can make him a better skater. You can do things like that, but you cannot teach his size. And, Vierhoff is going to be a good player in the National Hockey League. But, I mean, I hope that fans and people around in the organization have their sights set on a lot higher than number 3. It's just interesting that we always have to sit here and have these conversations, because it's very much so the Canucks way if they don't end up winning the draft lottery.
For sure. We touched on Pettersson very briefly earlier, but I wanted to ask you, what do you think, with, the way PD's been playing the last couple of years? I know he put on those, 6 kilos last summer. What do you think he has to do this summer to get better, and what should he actually focus on?
It's a tough question. Like, I'm not in his mind. I don't know how he thinks the game. I don't know how much he cares about the game. Like, I just, like, nobody knows, right? And obviously, this guy's out there and he competes hard some nights. But then there's other nights where you don't notice him too much. Elias Pettersson should not be going hockey games and consecutive games without a shot on net. That cannot happen for the guy that is, quote unquote, the best player on the team, for a guy that is the highest paid player on the team, for the guy that is the highest paid player on 25 other teams. Like that can't happen. Elias Pettersson should not be going 2 years without a road power play goal. These are things that shouldn't be happening. So whatever Elias Pettersson needs to do this summer to get himself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever he needs to do to come back and be a proud member of the Vancouver Canucks, I think he needs to go and do that. Whether that's training differently this season, whether that's skating with different people this season, whether that's doing whatever you need to do when you go back home, those are the things that he needs to do. And look, we've seen it, right? 102 points is there. But since then, and since he signed that contract a couple of years ago, it has been quiet. And I think that is the scary thing. When you talk to people around the National Hockey League, is there going to be interest for him in the summer? Probably. But at that cap hit versus what he's produced over the last couple of seasons, you can only use injuries so much, right? And I think that this year, there shouldn't have been an excuse. I think the Quinn thing, that was done early enough. I think the JT Miller thing, he got what he wanted. JT Miller was traded. It's been a year, and still the production has been very low from this player. So they're going to need him to step up and be the number one center like he can shown in the past that he can be, and one of the best players in the National Hockey League. Because the time now, he's not young anymore. He's 27 years old. Like, the time to say that this guy's a young player is over. He got his massive contract. Like, it's now or never.
For sure. Do you think the Canucks will name a captain for next season? And if they
Oh, I think I lost you there.
There we go. Sorry, Irf.
There we go. No worries. Yeah, I got a few more minutes for you.
That's perfect. I got it. Hopefully just a few more questions. So, like I said, I apologize for this. I wonder if the weather might have something to do with it. I am living.
Sometimes it does.
I am living on the side of a mountain too. So
Okay, there you go.
no, I just got a couple more here. Actually, maybe I'll just go with one since we got 4 minutes, and I think this is a good one too. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion about the rebuild and whether or not this management. All right. I'm terribly sorry about that, guys. Irv had to go. He had to run, but I want to deeply apologize for the technical difficulties here. Was not expecting it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed some of what we ended up talking about in here. I will definitely try and get Irf on again, perhaps maybe next week. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, at least a little bit of this interview. Perhaps we'll do maybe a part 2 with Irf next week, as I mentioned. But I want to very quickly take a look at the betting odds for tonight. We're going to take a look at the Ducks and Jets. The Ducks are at a plus 1.5, a minus 230 on the puck line, and the Jets are a minus 1.5 and a plus 190 on the puck line, while the Ducks are a plus 114 on the money line and a minus 135. Sorry. An official sports betting partner of the NHL. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With player props and live betting, every shift, every shot, every save gives you options to get in on the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN, that's code THPN, to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois, 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario, restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which will expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. This is a limited time offer. Copyright 2026 NHL, all rights reserved. This video has been a presentation of both DraftKings Sportsbook as well as the Hockey Podcast Network. Be sure to check out the network for your favorite podcast covering your favorite team at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com, the home of hockey podcasts, where it's every team, everywhere. Drop your comments down below. Once again, I absolutely apologize for the technical difficulties. Like I mentioned, we'll try and get Irfaan again next week, perhaps. But for what we did manage to cover, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on the next line change.